Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a local official claims the U.S. flag is not relatable, but the pride flag is. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Yesterday, the homeless vagrant prolific offender was charged in court for allegedly kidnapping and raping a 15-year-old girl. We've been discussing this story for a few days now, and yesterday we found out exactly how prolific an offender he is. 46 warrants. 28 arrests, and yet he was out on Seattle streets. 28 prior arrests, 13 convictions, 46 lifetime warrants, 9 active warrants across 5 jurisdictions. King County prosecutors yesterday charged 36-year-old Joshua Kowalski with first-degree rape and second-degree kidnapping following the attack near Northeast 103rd Street and 5th Avenue Northeast in Seattle's Northgate neighborhood. A judge set bail at $1 million after prosecutors argued he poses a severe threat to public safety and has repeatedly failed to comply with court orders over nearly 2 decades of criminal activity. At what point do you say this is a bad seed? At what point do you say we need to lock him up for the public's safety? He's had other violent crimes before. He's tried to bite police officers. He has assaulted people, domestic violence, you name it. At what point do you say enough is enough? Among the pending cases, drug possession, theft, obstruction, criminal trespass, weapons-related charges. Also, here's this. He's got pending criminal cases in King County District Court, Seattle Municipal Court, Edmonds Municipal Court, Olympia Municipal Court, and Puyallup Municipal Court. So this isn't even a guy who, he came from Texas and he was a prolific offender there and ended up on our streets and now we have to deal with it. He is our problem. And what did they do for him? Last week. I assume he didn't get all these in 1 week, all these different charges. Last week, when he had 28 prior arrests, 13 convictions, 46 lifetime warrants, and 9 active warrants, he was granted entry into Seattle's drug prosecution alternative. So he was diverted for treatment, thanks to the left here in Seattle, 1 week before the alleged rape of a 15-year-old girl. 1 week beforehand. That is how messed up our justice system is here. That is how much they tolerate crime. And why do they get away with this? This is how they want to defund the police, abolish prisons. They don't want anybody in prisons. Even a guy with 28 prior arrests, 13 convictions, 46 lifetime warrants, and 9 active warrants. How do they get away with this? Nobody holds them accountable. Yesterday, I almost threw my laptop through a wall. Now, you have to understand, I have a relationship with my laptop. We're like more than just friends. I mean, it's more than man and machine. I love my laptop. I spend all hours of the day with my laptop. I love my laptop.
It's a real her situation.
Not quite. Not quite. Not a weird science situation either. Not quite that. No, there's no girl living in my computer. But for me to like cause harm to my laptop or want to cause harm to my laptop, that's like a family member right there. So what happens? I see this headline from the Seattle Times about this story. Ready? Stranger charged with kidnapping, rape of teen near Seattle bus stop. A stranger? Wait, it doesn't say a stranger, it just says stranger. So the progressive left newspaper has been charged with kidnapping and rape? Is that what we're talking about? No! A stranger? How about homeless prolific offender who they found taking a dump on a sidewalk when they arrested him? How about that? How about a guy with 46 prior charges? Let's just compare that for a second. to the article we put up at KVI today with this story. Here's the KVI headline. Tell me which one you think is better. Okay, let's do the Seattle Times one. Stranger charged with kidnapping, rape of a teen near Seattle bus stop. Hours. Homeless man with 46 warrants, 28 arrests charged after allegedly forcing 15-year-old girl into woods and raping her. Which headline do you think better encapsulates the story? The Seattle Times or ours? A stranger? That's what you're... A stranger. Now, sometimes you don't blame the author. Because a lot of times you actually blame the editor. The editor is the one that comes up with the headlines, not necessarily the author. But in this case, for Catalina Guyton, who's the Seattle Times breaking news reporter, this was intentional. Now, the story is here of what happened itself in the incident. However, it's not till the very bottom they talk about some of his charges, and they talk about very few of them. This is a very abridged version of his criminal history in a very short article. But I think the whole reason they wrote this article was to tee up the national sexual assault headline. I kid you not. At the bottom of the article, I'm just going to read the last two paragraphs for you. Less than a third of rapes in the United States are carried out by strangers. Are we justifying this now? Such assaults are most often carried out by men against someone like the perpetrator knows, such as a family member, romantic partner, co-worker, or friend, according to anti-sexual violence organization RAIN, with two N's. Statistics show a child in the United States is sexually assaulted every 9 minutes, according to RAIN, which operates the National Sexual Assault headline. What the hell does this have to do with the article at all? You are admitting that most of them aren't carried out by strangers. Are you trying to be like, oh, you know, this doesn't happen that often. It's usually somebody they know. Did you want the girl in the middle of all this going on to call the National Sexual Assault Hotline rather than 911? This is garbage journalism. And because they're not reaching out to the mayor's office, hey, another homeless guy, another one. Exactly. Another prolific offender. Another one. What are you going to do about this? Hey, Chief Barnes, what are you going to... He put a statement. This is bad. This shouldn't happen. Great. What are you doing to make sure it doesn't happen again? Hey, all those municipalities which had this guy before, why didn't you keep him behind bars?
No jail time.
Exactly. Or how about this? Which program diverted him again? How come a guy with 46 priors gets diversionary treatment? How come? Instead, we've got the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Media is absolute garbage from the Seattle Times. Complete garbage. And you know what? You had the perfect opportunity to ask. Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson had a press conference today. And what was she talking about? Seattle has secured a new site in the South Park neighborhood for 90-unit tiny house village aimed at expanding shelter capacity and providing services for people experiencing homelessness. Mayor Katie Wilson announced on Thursday. According to Como News, the project is part of a broader push by the mayor's office to accelerate the development of emergency housing and shelters with integrated support services. Question. Wait, here, we're going to do something that's never going to happen. Ready? Question. Yes, Ari Hoffman. Okay, that's never going to happen. We'll start right there. That's just not going to happen. But yes, you, sir, in the back. Excuse me, we have multiple tiny home villages, and we have video evidence that inside of them, the houses have mold, there are weapons, they have drug huts inside of these things. Why do you think this is going to help anything? And if you claim you offer wraparound services, which is their new buzzword, if you're claiming you're offering wraparound services, how much good does that do when you have a drug hut in the middle of your tiny home village? Did anybody ask that today? Did anybody ask that question today? Or here, how about another one? Excuse me, Mayor Wilson? Yes, Ari Hoffman. Once again, never going to happen. Yes, Ari Hoffman. Okay. Question, Mayor. Do you allow people with active warrants? What kind of background checks are you doing to keep the people? Because you claim it's just people with families and stuff inside these villages, but we know they're not. So what are you doing to keep people like this guy who allegedly raped a 15-year-old girl out of the tiny home village? Anybody ask that question today? anybody from the media. I checked every news outlet. Didn't see anybody asking that question at all. At all. Instead, what do we get? A stranger. A stranger did it. And meanwhile, we've got violence spilling out everywhere in Seattle where there's a homeless encampment. Here's what they're doing. I was downtown today. I have a place I go to get my hair cut downtown. Also, I had a meeting with the U.S. Attorney. We're going to be talking to the new U.S. Attorney today around 4:20. He's a great guy. I walked into his office. I saw a model of the USS Enterprise. I said, him and I are going to be good friends. This is going to work out great. We talk about Antifa. We talk about all this other stuff. But I was downtown today. And I look around and I go, wow, it's so clean. Today, for those of you who are commuting into Seattle, you may have been stuck in that massive backup on I-5. I don't even know what was going on, but as soon as I turn on my GPS and it sends me a way I don't normally go, I know something's up. So it sent me this weird back route through Beacon Hill, through Chinatown, and I'm like, oh, here's where all the homeless people are. This is where you pushed them all to for the World Cup, because make no mistake about it, this announcement about this tiny home village is really about just trying to shove people out of the way so you don't see them for the World Cup. Downtown was looking okay. I saw tons of those neon vests, that Small Business Association ambassadors or whatever the hell it is. They're all over the place downtown.
You ever see them do anything?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I will tell you what I saw them do one time. I saw one of them yesterday almost hit my car with the garbage can. He was going across the sidewalk, the crosswalk, while I was stopped at a red light, so much so that I actually had to put the horn on. Okay, which, scares the crap out of somebody.
A New Yorker used the horn. Goodness, well, stop the press.
I do that kind of often. But yeah, he was like, literally, he's dragging it behind him and it's bouncing all over. And I'm like, that is about to hit my car. And it's the one I got from my friends at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. So it's not just my car. It's the borrowed Charger I got from them. And I really don't want that one getting dinged up. There was another time I saw them do something. No, this is for real. That did happen. But I saw one time this guy get in a horrible bicycle accident because he was high on something and flip over something and he goes splat on the pavement. This all happened while I was at a red light. And the ambassador guys were nearby, right? They were right there. Mm-hmm. They came over and, you all right? You all right? You all right? And then walked away while the guy's like bleeding on the sidewalk.
Yeah, my assessment of those guys has just been they're the homeless we pay. It's kind of like the Real Change newspaper salesman. It's yes. Like, I guess they have a job, but to what extent?
They all look like they're recovering from something. Yeah, you gave him a vest. That's kind of what it looks like. But I will say, downtown is nice. They have shoved everything out of that corridor, and it's just the corridor between the stadiums and the hotels. I was talking to my barber today, and she said, I don't know if we're going to get a lot of business because of the World Cup or not. And I said, are you on the map? And she said, what map? And I said, last time when they had the All-Star game and the Taylor Swift concert and all this other stuff, they had these maps that I forget if it was the Chamber of Commerce or the Small Business Association or somebody gave out, and they gave it to the hotels. And the hotels said, here's where you want to go. You want to go this way. Now, it wasn't saying, don't go there. Oh, no, Simbo, we don't go over there. It wasn't that kind of map. It was just, here's where you want to go, thinking positively. But if you looked at it, you wanted to go in that area because the homeless are everywhere else. That's the no-go zone is outside of it. So if you were inside the zone, you did fine. Actually, residents of other neighborhoods got really mad. They said, you literally kept all the business away from us. You made it seem like there's nothing over there, and they really got mad about this. So I said to my barber, I said, you guys should check and see if you're on the map or not on the map. If you're not on the map, odds are you're not going to see much from the World Cup crowd. But this is about the World Cup. And while the World Cup is happening, there are so many neighborhoods that are going to be suffering more than they normally do. A lot of you don't know Madison, the Madison area, okay? Madison is just past Leschi, the Madison Valley neighborhood. Really nice, quaint kind of thing. Looks like it's Martha's Vineyard or looks like Cape Cod. It looks like a water town in New England. Really cute little place. I love it.
Obama!
Really,
sorry, I heard him. Martha's Vineyard.
He's not there. We'll talk about him later. Not him. But it's a really cute little neighborhood. Well, a few years ago, actually this is going back a few decades, they had a place that helped people with HIV. But now that's been turned into a full drug treatment house. It's now destroying this high-class neighborhood, this nice little nook, this little area of Seattle that most people don't realize is even there. And they're just going to shove more of these homeless people there. Our friend Jonathan Cho from the Discovery Institute, helped by his colleague Marcia Michaelis, has a story for us.
This is Bailey Boucher, and right across the street is this dynamic community of shops, businesses, houses.
Yeah, it's a vibrant community, and we're also interacting with a lot of people who are having struggles and need treatment.
So the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, that's supposed to have oversight of this facility, they even admit that the oversight and accountability isn't happening.
That's correct. So on March 26th of this year, they released a report confirming our claims that they do not adhere to their Good Neighbor Agreement. And also there are many aspects of their contract that they don't adhere to as well.
So the real question then is, so what? So what is KCRHA going to do to enforce now this violation of the contract and the Good Neighbor Agreement?
That's right. So we've gone to Joy Hollingsworth, City Council President Joy Hollingsworth, and asked her for help because many residents and merchants have tried over the years. It's a very well documented effort that we've made to engage with Bailey Boucher House and their leadership team and ask them repeatedly for help in helping us feel safe and ensuring that the bus stop is a safe place for children and commuters to use, especially at the peak hours when their clients are coming and going. Just a couple weeks ago, we had an incident where a BB gun was being wielded by one of the clients, and he shot a nurse. And police came, and it was right at going home time when students were present. Okay. So I really hope that Virginia Mason, which is really run by a much larger organization based in Chicago called Common Spirit, will do the right thing, that they will pay attention to their contracts, that they will immediately begin to do discharge planning for their clients instead of dumping people out onto the sidewalk who are having mental health crises, drug-related issues, and have nowhere else to go, rather than wandering around into the neighborhood and getting into trouble.
Didn't that sound like such a nice interview? Didn't that sound so nice? Okay, it's just a practical thing. Let's approach it. You got to watch the video itself. The video itself, which we have an article about this up at kvi.com, the video itself shows what's going on in that neighborhood. It's stuff you see in other Seattle neighborhoods. The zombies walking around everywhere, the completely doped out of their head psychos walking around everywhere. That's what's happening in this quaint little area of Seattle. And this is what's going to be happening during the World Cup. In fact, you know what I think would be kind of fun during the World Cup? Me and Jonathan Cho, maybe Brandy Cruz, maybe a few others. We get some local celebrity guests. We do Doom Loop tours of Seattle during the World Cup. See the real Seattle. We'll get one of those buses with the open roofs. We'll do that and just go around, and we'll take people into the woods. We'll say, make sure you're wearing good shoes and clothes you don't care about, and make sure you have a gun on you, because in case we go into the jungle, you don't know what's going to happen in there.
Money spent, Fenty bent.
Maybe we should just do that for the World Cup. You know what we should do? Like the USO has those little booths at SeaTac. We'll just send young Zach out there to sit at a booth.
Why do I got to go out there?
That's your job. I'm sending you out there now, even though I have no say whatsoever what you get to do. We're going to send young Zach out to the airport. It'll be like, here for the World Cup, see the real Seattle. Take KVI tours on the Doom Loop. Oh, I'm feeling a meme coming on right now.
If we got off the plane in Milwaukee and someone offered us that at the RNC, we would have been on that bus in a heartbeat.
That's what I'm saying. If you guys can come up with a better name for the Doom Loop tours, I am all in on it. You give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You know that Seattle is just pushing its problems to the side, but making other neighborhoods worse. And as long as it doesn't deal with the actual problem, which are prolific offenders, which is drug use, which is mental health, which is crime, warrants, felonies, you name it, none of this is going to get better. And you can build as many tiny homes and as much affordable housing as you want. You could tax us up the wazoo. This is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. What's it going to take? Your latest victim was a 15-year-old girl. And why am I so mad about this story? Aside from the obvious reasons why. My daughter is 15 years old, and that could have been her. That could have been your daughter. That could have been your sister. That could have been somebody you know. And this is what happens to this girl because of Seattle's failed policies. And worse yet, it's far left failing media like the Seattle Times is covering for a prolific offender. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful and disgusting. I don't have enough bad words to say this. Up next, lots more to discuss. Speaking of people I'm really ticked off about, Sound Transit revealed their plan to deal with the fact that they have no money to build billion-dollar extensions, and it's terrible. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, so you never miss a minute of the show, download the KVI app. You can get our podcasts and articles and so much more over there, but also subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Forest Cat, if you make comments about my hair on the text line, you will be banned from the text line. It is, you can call me a Nazi, you can call me a racist, you can call me all kinds of things. You can say I'm a genocider. Comments about my hair is too far because I don't have a lot left.
Kevin's not here today. Hairlines are a sensitive topic between Ari and myself.
Yes. I'm a little ahead of Zach. See what I did there? Yes, very good. This one here. Okay, the 425 today, I think they win the prize for best name for the potential tour of Seattle during the World Cup. The Poop Loop Tour, which isn't bad because I call the Underground Seattle Tour the Poop Tour because it's about Seattle's sewage problems. So I think this could go hand in hand. You have the Poop Tour and the Poop Loop Tour. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Paul in Seattle. Paul, what's up, man?
Hi. Hey, I was just calling because of the deplorable condition of our whole mental health system and why there's so many people out there on the street. The law in Washington is called the Involuntary Treatment Act. Mm-hmm. And when you get picked up for anything, like let's say you're having a psychotic episode, let's say, in public, as soon as they detain you, you're assigned a public defender. And the public defender acts as if the mentally ill person who's in the hospital is like a prisoner in prison. And they fight tooth and nail, not for what's best for the patient, but for what the patient wants. But the patient's mentally ill. And so they get you out as fast as they can out onto the street, even though you are severely disabled, mentally ill. And that's why we have the problems that we have. And I speak just from my own personal experience. I have a son right now that was just recently at Harborview, and not even his treating doctor knew that they were going to discharge him. The defense attorneys cooperate with the attorneys at the hospital, and they just cut deals. And so he's out on the street now. He's missing. We don't know where he is. They found his phone laying in the street. And that's the state of our system, Ari. And it's really sad. When you see those people that are living in squalor, most of them are mentally ill. They also have drug problems, many of them. And the courts, basically their hands are tied. Even the police hands are tied. They can't detain them unless they meet very, very narrow guidelines. And so we've got a mess.
Paul, I'm really sorry to hear that. First, I want to try and help you a little bit, okay? Do you know who Andrea Suarez is from We Heart Seattle?
No.
Okay. Paul, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to put you on hold when we're done talking, okay? Zach's going to get you her information or get your information so I can get it to you. And Andrea is out there meeting with people all the time, and we can tell her to keep an eye out for your son, okay? We'll also
that would be wonderful.
We'll also talk to a few of we'll talk to Jonathan Cho. We'll talk to a few other people and say, can you keep a lookout? We'll get pictures. We're going to try and help you out. That's number one, because we want to help. We want to help your son if we can. Okay, so we're going to try and do that. But number two is that when you look at the things they're doing like this, did you know that King County has on their website, or at least they used to the last time I checked, it said they're actually going to ignore a lot of the involuntary commitment laws because they think they're racist or unjustified or whatever the case may be. So they know that they have a lot of these laws on the books that could help a situation, but yet they're choosing to circumvent them or flat out ignore them because they're so desperate to keep people out of jail, even though it might save their lives. Are you aware of that?
I believe me, I've been involved in this now for about 4 years, and it's pathetic. And when I used to be, the guy that saw the guy on the street, and I'd say, oh, yeah, he should get a job. But now I look at him and go, there, but by the grace of God is my son. And now it is my son. And the courts can't make you, it's called the Involuntary Treatment Act, but unless you meet very strict criteria, they can't make you go to get drug treatment or anything. They just cut you loose on the street. And we don't have a homeless problem. We've got a mental health problem and a really serious drug problem. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Paul, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you on hold right now, okay? Young Zach is going to get your information. I've got Andrea's information, so if we need to get Paul's information, I'll give him everything, whatever. If you don't have Andrea's, I got it, okay? But, Paul, we're going to try and help you out, and we're going to try and help you find your son through our friends, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, hang on one second, Paul. Let me just put you on hold right there, okay? Guys, you can hear what Paul's going through. He's not alone. How many other families do we know that are going through things like this? There's a line that you hear politicians say all the time: no family hasn't been touched by the drug crisis. That's not an exaggeration. It shouldn't just be a campaign line, because unfortunately it's 100% true. We hear stories like this all the time. A relative of mine, while we don't kind of really talk about it in the family, we know that it was a drug problem that took this person from us, even though, we say in the family it was health issues, but we know what it really was. And there's so many families out there, which is more obvious, and they do talk about it, and they have these stories. Yeah, and I'll actually say this, just using Paul's call for a second here. If anybody else has a situation similar to Paul where you think your kid is out on the streets of Seattle, please email me, ari@kvi.com. We'll try and get you in touch with Andrea. We'll try and get you in touch with Jonathan Cho so they can keep a lookout for your kids. That's the very least we can do. We have the power of the airwaves. We'll see if we can do that. We have our friends, but you heard Paul, who clearly listens to the show, and we have Andrea on all the time. He didn't even know Andrea was out there. He didn't know Andrea was a resource. So if you have a similar situation and you're having these problems, please reach out to me, ari@kvi.com. It's me on the other end. I don't have staff who answers that thing. That's why sometimes it takes me a while to get back to you. But email me, ari@kvi.com, and we'll see if we can help you out as well if you're going through a similar situation to Paul. Okay? Email me, see if we can make it work, ari@kvi.com. Up next, my friends, that story I told you about Sound Transit's terrible, no good, very bad plans to deal with their budget crisis. It's just going to tick you off. I promise. When we come back, you'll hear all about it. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, we know that the light rail around here is basically just a rolling homeless encampment a lot of the time. Well, now they want to expand it out to Ballard, which they can't afford. They want to expand it out to West Seattle, which they can't afford. They want to expand it down to Tacoma, which they can't afford. And everybody's mad. Everybody's mad. We're mad. The pro-transit activists are mad. Everybody is mad at them. Literally everybody. So the biggest problem they have is they are always over budget and they are always behind schedule every single time. So now people are saying, when we voted for this, you promised us Ballard, you promised us West Seattle, you promised us Tacoma, and now you can't deliver on any of that. So when they said, hey, you know what, maybe we're going to cut this back and not do everything until we get more money, the activists went bonkers. Then they said, okay, we're going to fund everything without a way how to pay for it or how to plan it or anything. So then people like me get mad about it. Well, now they have a plan. They unveiled their plan today. Are you ready? Here is their plan. They plan to close their $34.5 billion shortfall over 2 decades. Wait, what the hell does that even mean? Oh, over the next 20 years. You plan on solving your financial problems. So 20 years from now, when we check in and we go, hey guys, you know what? I'm going to set a note in my phone after this segment. I'm going to say in 20 years, check in with Sound Transit and see if they're still on budget. Okay, good. I'm 45, 65. Okay, right about to retire, my last year on air. And with my last radio show, is Sound Transit actually on budget and on time? Great, we'll do that. That's what we'll do, because I'll still have a microphone, I hope. So what we'll do is we'll find that out. But they plan to do it because in 20 years, who's holding them accountable except for Ari Hoffman and his phone? Will I even still have that phone? It will be implanted in my skull by then. This is how you avoid accountability. So they can just keep spending and spending and spending and borrowing and getting bonds and whatever else it is for this train that more and more people are moving out of town. It may take 20 years to even fix our economy. Hey, maybe by then companies will have moved back to Seattle. Maybe not by then Washington will go red. But you know what I think is more likely by then? By then, I think there's going to be a lot more self-driving cars. When you have a lot of self-driving cars, people go, what do I need mass transit for? This thing's going to get me there. I could just sit in the car and do my work in the car on my way to work. Or more people are going to be doing remote work, or less people are going to be living in Seattle because of the economic path we're on right now without serious intervention. This is a plan which means not being held accountable. Hoping that 20 years from now, aside from Ari Hoffman putting a little note in his phone, that nobody's going to remember they made a 20-year promise. How many people will still be reporters by then? Will we even still have the newsrooms we have now, given how badly some of them are doing right now? They're just hoping nobody notices. 20-year plan to close the gap. Give me a break. What a bunch of nonsense that is. But you could tell that here in Seattle, these state-run agencies, these city-run agencies, these county-run agencies, there's no accountability whatsoever. You may have heard the story about what's going on in Leschi. Leschi is in the South Seattle type area. It's along Lake Washington Boulevard. Beautiful. Right before you actually hit Madison Valley. Leschi, I love Leschi. Really makes me feel like I live in a beach town. You got the marina over there. You got the Leschi Market. We had Yosef Schulman, the owner of Leschi Market, on the show a while back to talk about how some policies are affecting grocers around here. I love Leschi Market. I really, really do. I used to actually have an office in Leschi way back when. But now we're having a little problem because just the other day, all of a sudden, city contractors showed up and start peeling up all the concrete for all the parking, for the bars, which are about to have summer, because that's where you go during the summer. For example, my wife and I, during the summer, love taking the boat or driving over to the Blue Water Bistro, which is right there on the water, and getting drinks. I can't eat anything. Yes, exactly. Her and I, we go there and get drinks because it's lovely. At night, during the day, it's wonderful. We love it over there. Parking lot, gone. Right? The people who go to Leschi Market, parking lot, gone. There's tons of small businesses over there. And now they're going to be badly affected because nobody gave them a heads up. Seattle Parks and Rec just said, we're going to work on the marina right before the summer. You're going to work on the marina. You're going to work on all that, the public marina right there, right before the summer. Are you stupid? You know when you could have done this? Let's think this through logically. When are people using the marina space in Seattle.
January.
Yes, that's it. For the polar bear plunge. That's when they're doing it. The naked polar bear plunge.
Yeah.
They don't do that in Lesher. I think they do that in West Seattle. No joke. I think they
So
actually
much
do that.
shrinkage.
Yeah, it's not good. I was in the pool. I was in Lake Washington. I was in the ocean.
For a guy who doesn't like Seinfeld, you'd get all the
I
references.
never said I don't like Seinfeld. I said I watched it, but I don't rewatch it. When I rewatch it, I don't find it as funny. And for me, it's hit or miss with some episodes. I mean, the shrinkage one, I think, was also the lobster one. I think
true.
Yeah, that was all the beach house one, right? See, I know my Seinfeld.
It's as if it was in Leschi.
So what happens? The city just showed up and starts peeling up the parking lot and taking out the parking spaces, and all these people got nowhere to go. So Leschi Market and a few other businesses say to their customers, guys, this is crazy. We didn't know about this. We had no idea. So what happens? They start an email campaign. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people email the city, and what do you know? All of a sudden, the city comes out and says, hey, you know what? Okay, let's talk about this. And then what happens? The city council gets involved. To her credit, Joy Hollingsworth, Seattle City Council president, is like, no, we got to fix this. We got to figure out what's going on here. We got to fix this because now you're hurting these businesses at their busiest time of the year. You know what happens in South Seattle? First weekend of August? Anybody know? Anybody know? There's these boats that go really fast on the water, and there's these jets that go above. That's the big season for these guys. The whole summer is the big season for these guys. You have 3 months out of the year that's nice. You couldn't do this project the other 8 months out of the year. You had to do it right now at the start of the season when these businesses make their money. You had to do it now. This is the Seattle Parks Department that's behind this. But when I reached out to the Parks Department and I said, hey guys, what's going on here? They basically said, yeah, we're talking to the business owners, and yeah, the contractor was supposed to tell them. A city contractor that doesn't tell anybody what's going on figures nothing's going to happen to him anyway. Figures he could do whatever the hell he wants. Because
and he's right.
He's right. Who's holding him accountable? Who is holding him accountable at all? Who's ever holding these guys accountable? It's like my story the other day. For those of you who may have missed it, I live on a steep slope. It's an environmentally critical area where it's very, very steep, and you really can't mess with it too much because they're worried about my house coming down and landing down there along with every other house on my block. Well, since my neighbor started doing construction, there's always water pouring down, which means it's probably an underground stream or something. It's not from the drains. It's not from anything else. It's from, an underground spring or whatever it is. So I've been calling the city, trying to get them out there. The other day, what happens? I see a crew out there, and I get all excited. Young Zach hasn't heard the story yet. I see a crew. I get all excited because, hey, somebody's here to actually deal with it. Nope. It was the Seattle Department of Transportation. Somebody had called them because the bike lanes were muddy. So the bike lanes are muddy, but you're not dealing with the water issue. This is so par for the course. Now, the businesses in Leschi have won so far. And Yosef Schulman told me that the city says the Parks Department confirmed this, actually, that the project's going to be on hold till August. How about maybe September or October or January, when you should actually be doing a project like this? But no, let's just tear it up in the middle of the day. Wait. Do we get more bike lanes as part of this? Because then maybe, the activists will show up and say, we want our bike lanes.
Nothing gets repaved with less bike lanes.
That's very true. Very, very true. Oh, and if a lot of you who may have noticed there's more no turn on red signs around here in Seattle, do you know why that is? Because they are now required by their own ordinances that anytime they work on intersection, even if it's just restriping a pride crosswalk, they have to add a no turn on red sign for the cyclists. Yep. Bravo. Well done, everybody. Up next, my friends, who does get a bravo is Spencer Pratt taking down Karen Bass in the L.A. mayoral debate last night. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Could Los Angeles be saved? Last night was the mayoral debate between Spencer Pratt, Karen Bass, and a hardcore socialist who didn't grow up in L.A., moved there a couple of years ago to be part of Homeless Inc., and has been an absolute disaster. So Spencer Pratt is a reality TV star whose home was burned down by the fires last year. And he blames Karen Bass for it because, hey, she's responsible for it. Because there's no water in the reservoirs. There was no water in the hydrants. Nothing. Spencer Pratt is not a politician. He's a TV guy. But he made a meal of Karen Bass. And now when you're listening to him, I just want you to imagine if somebody like this ran for mayor of Seattle.
What would you do moving forward that would make this better 2 years from now if we face the same situation?
Well, first off, as mayor, I will never drain the reservoirs that we need for wildfire protection.
Boom! Wow, what a novel concept. Now, Nathia Rahman is the socialist who's running for this. She's the one who's I mean, can I use the word carpet? Can I say that one on air? I don't know if I can say that word. You know, she moved somewhere to run for a position there. Okay. So, anywho, she's there. He called her out because she's talking about the homeless and stuff, and he said this.
I'm not sure how to respond to that vision of Los Angeles. This is a...
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong clip. Hang on. This is the one I want to play for you.
Downtown is so unsafe now that they have to serve the food. All the employees have to eat inside. They can't risk going out. That's why all these beautiful restaurants are closing, because it's so unsafe. So before we require city workers to go back into any buildings, we need to enforce the laws on the street. Councilwoman Rahman is talking about safety, yet when animal rescue activist Rebecca Corey came in and said the dogs are being tortured and abused on the streets of downtown, she walked out of the hearing. She doesn't care about safety. She doesn't care about anything she's talking about. At least Mayor Bass pretends to care.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Wait, he was even better than that. Give a listen to this one.
I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 70, what did you say? 3,000 people for $400 million? This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
Now, the only thing this DSA person could respond with was this.
I'm not sure how to respond to that vision of Los Angeles. This is a MAGA Republicans' idea of what Los Angeles looks like. This is really not. This is.
Oh, you mean public safety? You mean no homeless on the streets? You mean dealing with the drug addicts? My favorite is, you can't see it, but the camera pans over to Spencer Pratt's reaction of being called a MAGA Republican when he's not politically aligned. You just burned his house to the ground. And he just goes like, oh, I'm so scared you called me a MAGA Republican. If straight-talking people run for office who have a story to tell, they're going to do very well. Do you know what the NBC straw poll showed after that debate last night? 86% for Spencer Pratt from NBC. Who's going to take down Katie Wilson? Almost makes me want to run for office because the debate between me and Katie Wilson would be amazing. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, including why is a local official saying she doesn't like the American flag but wants the pride flag instead? You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570, KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, special interview with the new U.S. Attorney. When are we going to take down Antifa? And how can we still kick out illegal aliens while Turd Ferguson is trying to stop federal efforts? But before we get to any of that, my friends, yesterday while we were on air, my friend Mario Lotmore, he runs the Linwood Times. He sent a story to me, and there was a video in the story. And at the commercial break, I watched the video, and I said, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So, just weeks before Memorial Day and amid the United States' 250th anniversary year, a city council member in Linwood, Washington, launched into a tirade against the American flag, declaring that the pride flag is far more relatable to her and suggesting the 27 U.S. flags at Wilcox Park should be replaced. Now, this is Councilwoman Isabel Mata. She made the remarks during the May 4th City Council meeting while discussing the city's flag policies. Give a listen.
To me, a pride flag is way more relatable than an American flag. I would not raise an American flag at my house because I wouldn't. I wasn't even born here. But I would raise a pride flag. And as the most diverse city in all of Snohomish County, I don't think that I'm the only one who would maybe choose to have 27 other flags in Flag Park. Does this park represent the values that were here in the 1960s when they established this park? Do we hold those same values now, and are they representative of the Linwood as we see it today? Because if we're having this issue of we have so many things that we want to represent, this community is filled with so many beautiful cultures and diverse backgrounds and all of these things, yet we have 27 iterations of the same flag, some representing parts of American history that frankly are not great. Is there something different that we could do that fixes this issue altogether, where maybe these are flags that could be up year round that represent our community? The last thing I want to say is, yes, it's a political statement, but our city logo is literally all are welcome in rainbow colors. So we've already made a decision as a city where we stand politically. I think that's very, very clear. So to me, that is something I would feel so comfortable doing, is raising that flag in Wilcox Park and raising so many other flags that represent who we are. So wrap it all together. Maybe this is bigger than just seasonally raising these flags based on these proclamations. Maybe it's a time that we look at that park and those flags all together and find a long-term solution that is more representative of the people of Linwood.
Quick point of order. The logo for Linwood is not a rainbow flag. Perhaps it's still left over from last year's Pride, or they're getting ready for Pride quicker. It is a blue L with a box next to it that's got like a yellow thing in it and like a pinkish orange thing in it. So it is not the rainbow flag. I think somebody still has it left over from last year.
Kind of looks like the corner of a picture frame.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So it is not the Pride flag. Number two, I'm reminded of a story after 9/11. So I'm in New York for 9/11 because that's where I lived at the time. And everybody in New York had PTSD. Everybody did. And a friend of mine, who later in life I found out is a huge, huge liberal, but that's relevant to the story because you're going to hear the perspective for a second, was walking past Rockefeller Center. Rockefeller Center, for those of you who've seen 30 Rock, the big building where NBC Studios is, but in front of it is the ice skating rink and the big Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is only there for Christmas, but the ice skating rink is usually there in the winter. And sometimes they keep it longer if they can keep the ice there. And it's where you saw Kevin McAllister meet his mom in Home Alone 2. That's where it is, okay? Spider-Man in the Tobey Maguire one, when he saves Mary Jane the first time in the first movie, lands on that rooftop garden. That's Rockefeller Center.
I like that you think someone might go, I don't think I know that building. Hear that reference, go, oh, yeah.
I'm just making sure everybody knows. I'm painting a picture, okay? You're supposed to tell stories on air, child. Anywho, so at Rockefeller Center, there are flags running around the entire ice skating rink. There are flags up above where you look down into this, I don't want to call it a pit, but it's the recession down into the bottom where the ice skating rink is, and there's flags all around. And the flags after 9/11, everywhere in New York, all you ever saw were American flags. They were everywhere. And usually they have the flags of the world up there. And it was just the American flags. And my buddy was walking along, and somebody else said to my buddy, and this is a guy who's very, very liberal, by the way, but somebody said to my buddy, said, man, I really kind of miss all the other flags. And my friend, who's a liberal, said, don't you think we need a little us time right now? Don't you think we need a little us time? And I thought of that story when I thought of this. You got Memorial Day coming up, right? You've got America's 250th anniversary coming up. You have 4th of July, part of the 250th anniversary, where hopefully we're going to be in Washington, D.C., coming up. We're at war right now. And you know what? We're pretty divided. Our country is pretty divided. But the symbol of the American flag should be something we all agree on. Now, I could go off on this council member and her background and how she identifies and all that. But I think there's a real problem here where I've met this council member. I met her in Olympia the last time I was down there. She came up to me and she introduced herself. She disagrees with me on probably everything politically, really probably does. But she came up to me and introduced herself. And I'm actually going to invite her on the show to discuss the flags. You know why? Because I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding. She's much younger than me, much, much younger than me. But the younger generation thinks that you have to be represented by your tattoos or your hair color or the me, my, now generation, where my ideals need to be reflected here, and don't realize that the reason you have the freedom of speech for all of that, is the American flag. Because in so many other countries, they do not have those freedoms. We have them here because of that flag. Because of that flag, you don't get thrown off a roof for identifying as queer or any of the other things here. To replace it with it just because you feel that way, what about the people that fought and died for that flag to give you those freedoms? I could make this personal, but actually, Council member Isabel Mata got back to me like grease lightning with a statement today. Right away. Got back to me right away. Because this clip has gone viral. This clip has gone, everybody has seen it. And I am sure that many other people who do what I do are probably about, she identifies as this and that, and oh, kick her out of the country or whatever. No, I think we have a real problem we need to recognize here where the younger generation sees no value in the American flag. They're burning them at protests. They're burning them at protests, not realizing that the fact that you can burn them at a protest is protected because of that flag. Protected because of the ideals that flag stands for. That you could do that. Now, I think this actually showcases just the problem. I want my flag up there. Have you ever heard me ask for the Israeli flag to go anywhere? Ever? For anything? Not even after October 7th. That was not my jam. That's not what I do, right? I just asked for you guys to not you guys. I asked for people to stop discriminating against Jews and attacking Jews, kind of thing. That's not what you do. The American flag is our flag. I'm a proud American Jew. That's how it goes. I don't need to see the Israeli flag everywhere. That's not how this rolls. But I think the problem is the younger generation, they want their ideals everywhere on display. Let me know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take call from Eileen in Puyallup. Eileen, what's up?
Number one, I just can't praise you enough for the type of person you are. I listen to you all the time, but yesterday on Newsmax, and my heart is so full for you, Ari, because you take the time, you have the intelligence and the energy to research everything that you stand for. And we are getting such an education, and I just needed you to know.
Eileen, you are my favorite caller of the day. You are my favorite caller of the day, Eileen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to record this, and I'm going to try and play it every day, so people think you're calling every day to tell me that. Is that okay? We'll do that.
You got You got it. Yeah.
You're gonna play it at home when you're in trouble.
Yeah. I'm gonna say when my wife's mad at me, I'm gonna say, sweetie, Eileen says I'm really like when she says I did something dumb, I'm gonna say Eileen says I'm very smart and well researched. You can't call me dumb. You don't get to do that. Is that okay? Yeah.
And Eileen is also guilty of saying, "Goddamn, why is my husband not like Ari?"
Oh, Eileen, don't get me in trouble. Don't get me in trouble there, Eileen. Eileen, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from the 425. You are 100% right that the American flag represents all of us and the freedoms that we have. John in Auburn says, Ari, it's sad that Old Glory is the reason. She can say what she wants. Absolutely shameful. I think you mean that she doesn't realize that. Not it's sad she can say, right? I think I'm interpreting that the correct way. Okay, just making sure. Dan Smith says, I would pay her neighbors to fly Old Glory in a gigantic Trump flag year round. I go to this, when I was delivering bounce houses one time, I'll never forget this, back when I had my event rental company. I come to this block, and the house next to the house we're delivering at is Biden stuff everywhere. Everywhere.
So much malarkey.
So much malarkey. And I think to myself, who does that? You know, usually the Biden people don't do that. The Biden people have a sign or maybe something else.
Biden.
Exactly. And then I realized why they did it. Up the block was the most MAGA Trump house I'd ever seen in my life. And I go, you know what? This is beautiful. This is how you express your differences.
I love when you find a neighborhood or a couple neighbors that you can visibly tell are disputing.
Yes. Like, for example, somebody sent a picture to one of the dork groups I'm in. One house has the Federation flag from Star Trek on it, okay? And the other house across the street has the Klingon flag on it from Star Trek. And I'm like, okay, aside from the fact that we have two major dorks on this block, that's how we express our differences.
Gubernatorial race this last go around. I live in what I am convinced should be a 55-plus neighborhood that they just forgot to write that in the HOA.
Yes.
And so it was like respectful fighting, but it was hilarious to me. They put signs up inside their home in the window for the can. And like it was just these two houses that were kind of feuding with more and more signs in their windows. And then the HOA sent a whole email about it.
HOA, they're no fun whatsoever.
Yeah, they ratted me out for a leaky toilet to the entire neighborhood one time.
I don't even want to know.
It racked up the water bill.
Oh, I see what it was.
guess.
They get all mad about that kind of stuff. Switching gears for a minute here. So do you remember the name? There was this truck driver from a while ago. Do you remember when this happened? His name was, where is it? I got it right here. Hang on. It's Juan Hernandez Santos. And he was the truck driver who allegedly plowed into a school bus on I-5 and caused a multi-car pileup. I think it was back in December, January. Well, it was in December. So you remember that he was an illegal alien who didn't have a log and didn't have a commercial driver's license and didn't have any of those things? Well, our friend Jeremy Harris from Como News got this story last night because apparently Jeremy Harris has stayed on this story, and that accident was not the first time something happened with this dude.
Yeah, you'll hear the frustration from the trooper who stopped this trucker weeks before he plowed that truck into a school bus on I-5. He clearly did not understand what the trooper was saying, and he was found to be violating multiple laws. Despite getting more than $1,000 in tickets and a stern warning to stay off the road, you'll see what happened next.
Do you have paper logs?
Yeah, I do that.
You don't have any logbook at all? Oh my God, you're batting 1,000, man.
It was failure after failure for Juan Hernandez Santos during this truck inspection with a Washington State trooper.
It's not good.
Not good?
It's expired.
Okay.
Don't play dumb. You know it's expired.
Okay.
What the hell?
No commercial driver's license, no medical card, no logbook, and mechanical issues with the truck.
Okay, and then go through there and find a parking spot.
The trooper pulled him off the road to a truck stop.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
And the problems continued.
That's been expired for 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
No more the truck?
No, you can't move the truck.
Okay.
You don't have a CDL.
Okay, don't worry.
I'm not gonna let you drive.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
Nope.
No matter no more Washington.
You can't
Please.
drive.
Por favor, please.
No.
Yeah, please.
No, you're getting a ticket for it. You cannot drive.
Okay.
You need to call somebody else to come get the truck.
Okay.
With tickets and a direct order not to drive the truck again, the trooper leaves.
I got you off the road so I don't have to tow it. Okay? But you can't drive at all.
But 2 weeks later, troopers see this same truck again, this time in a freeway pileup crash in Lacey. The state patrol says Hernandez Santos rear-ended a school bus and hit 4 other cars. Several people were taken to the hospital.
You see what happened here. You have a collision and you have injuries. We're lucky nobody died here.
Attorney Mark Lindquist says leaving the driver with the truck during that stop weeks earlier would have been an obvious risk.
One of the more disturbing aspects of this case is that a Washington State trooper would just accept the word of a rogue driver that he won't get back on the road. That makes no sense. Based on the facts, as I understand them, this driver should have been arrested. The vehicle should have been impounded. That would have been in the interest of public safety. All vehicles are potentially dangerous weapons, but a commercial vehicle in particular is doubly dangerous to everyone on the road. We need for those drivers to be competent.
Now, there were no kids on that school bus in the crash, but 4 people were sent to the hospital. Hernandez Santos has a terrible driving history, multiple DUIs, a hit-and-run crash, and federal authorities say he was illegally in the country. The Department of Homeland Security asked the Thurston County Jail to hold him so they could take him into custody, but he was released before agents got there. Reporting live in Seattle, Jeremy Harris, KOMO News.
Okay. This guy was driving not just a semi-truck, but it was one of the ones with an auto carrier on it. And it was filled with cars, and he hit a school bus and caused a multi-vehicle accident. It's amazing nobody was killed. Truly amazing that nobody was killed. But because it's Washington State, that trooper could not turn him over to ICE. That trooper didn't arrest him on the spot for being in the country illegally because it's Washington State. I'm not blaming the trooper, by the way. They're not allowed to because of Turd Ferguson and Nick Brown and everybody else. So this could have been dealt with, and instead you have this multi-car accident. This guy has DUI on his license as well as many other problems, and just let him go. So it can happen again and again and again. And they released him after this accident. Are you kidding me with all this? Now, when we come back, my friends, we have a lot more we're going to discuss. For example, we have that what we're going to be talking about is the U.S. Attorney, specifically regarding what's to be done about illegal aliens when you're dealing with Turd Ferguson, who doesn't want you to do anything about it at all. That interview's up next. You don't want to miss it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KBI. This morning, I had the honor of going down to interview our new U.S. Attorney, Neil Floyd. And he represents Western Washington. And we got to have a great discussion. Got to do it in his office, which is why it doesn't sound like he's here in studio or on the phone. We had a great discussion because a lot of people don't know what the U.S. Attorney does, but also we want to know when somebody's taking action against Antifa. We want to know how you deal with illegal immigration when you got Bob Ferguson and crew fighting you every step of the way. So give a listen to my interview with our new U.S. Attorney, Neil Floyd. And here we go. Well, we're here in your office, and thank you so much for having us today. I really do appreciate it. So why don't we start with this, is what exactly does a U.S. Attorney do? What can you do? What can't you do? Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what your job is.
So my primary function is to basically enforce federal law here in the Western District of Washington. Depending on which jurisdiction you're in, it takes on a whole different flavor. I can tell you the U.S. Attorney's Office varies tremendously depending on what state you're in. But think of it this way. At our base level, our job is to prosecute crimes that are brought to us from federal law enforcement investigators. So it's a big sticking point that I have sometimes that, people want to see something investigated, they want to see something done, but you have to have a predicate crime, and that's the term of art. So if you go to the FBI and say, hey, why don't you look into this? They'll say, well, what's the predicate crime? And oftentimes that's what's difficult because you have to have evidence of a crime in order to open an investigation. And that's for good reason, because you don't want the federal government out there just willy-nilly saying, I don't like this guy, we should investigate them or this organization. So we're constantly looking for enough evidence to generate a predicate crime that would open an investigation that may involve or evolve into more than just the initial crime.
So not to comment on other things that might be current events, but I think that's a very important distinction, because sometimes somebody would say, oh, there is an investigation into this person. The second the media gets wind there's an investigation, whether there is or there isn't, or their name's even been mentioned, you have problems. I mean, the most famous one, not even in our area, but going back to the 1996 Olympic bombings, where they said there's an investigation into this guy who's a security guard, and he turned out not to be the guy, but that guy, Richard Jewell, some of us saw the movie, his name now goes that way. So that's what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, and in that case, it was relatively easy because you had a crime. It was clear. You had a bomb go off. So now we're investigating that crime to figure out who did it. But, sometimes people want to say, hey, I know this is going on, and whether or not it's criminal, it can result in an investigation. So, there's another phrase that the FBI and other law enforcement uses, is instead of that being a predicate crime, there can be an assessment. So if we see something like fraud occurring, let's say hypothetically speaking in Minneapolis, that dealt with a certain segment of the population doing a specific thing, and we have suspicion that is going on here, we could open an assessment to determine whether or not there's enough to generate an actual targeted investigation.
Right. I have the same thing on radio. People will email me and say, hey, I think this is going on. And I go, do you have any proof that that's going on? Is there perhaps a little bit more that's going on, or this is just your theory? Well, I know something bad there. Great, but you got to give me a little bit more. So we know there's fraud going on, but right now there's a lot of alleged fraud in Washington. There have been people who've been tracking down daycares. There's been people who've been tracking down various hospice-type groups, the same thing we've been seeing in Minneapolis, the same thing we've been seeing in Minnesota. Is that something your office is involved in? Has there been a there for you guys to go after?
Well, of course, when we see the indications that there may be something going on, we're going to take a look at it, and we have in this case. And then you get back to whether or not the something constitutes a crime. And under the prior administration, there was a tremendous push to just push money out the door. So they set up policies and the law essentially here in the state of Washington that it made it very easy to get the money pushed out the door. So someone that's on the receiving end of that money, whether they committed a crime by doing it, is largely dictated by how much the state was pushing this stuff out. So we're taking a look to figure out whether or not any of the actions on the part of the people receiving the money, the people that were clients of the ones that were receiving the money, or even those in the state that were helping push the money out the door, would constitute a federal crime.
See, because I look at it, I don't know if you've seen this yet, what's happening in Ohio that the Daily Wire just exposed. And there's a difficulty with a crime there because you had this legal program which said, we will pay you to go hang out with your relatives. So maybe the middlemen, there may be some there. But with regard to a random person, how do you know who's actually doing it? How do you know who's defrauding it? Because you don't know what goes on in somebody's house.
Well, and there's always the ancillary effects. As soon as you set up a system that says, hey, I want to get money out the door as fast as we can because whatever reason, these could be potential voters or we want to support the population or even for a good reason, there's always the people that see the fact that the spigot is open and then they say, I want some of that too. So even in a system that is set up and people are operating down the center lines of the road legally, the ones on the fringes often will set up something completely fictional, completely nefarious. And what they know is that people aren't checking. So that's usually where you end up starting, are the ones that got way over greedy because they thought no one was looking. And now in the rearview mirror, we can go back and take a look.
Gotcha. So now, switching gears for a minute over to what's happening locally, we have a big problem with Antifa. We have a big problem with domestic terrorists. Antifa has been designated sort of a domestic terrorist organization. We have their activists who just put on different colors anytime they go to an event, whether it's anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, whether it's we're going against ICE, whatever the case may be. Is there anything going on to deal with that? Because it seems like they think they can do whatever they want here in Washington because the local authorities won't do anything about that.
Oftentimes, these investigations, unfortunately, require something bad to happen. And we have been relatively quiet here in Washington, which has been a surprise. I don't expect that to necessarily last. So when we get into a situation where something as bad has happened, you have to have done your legwork and your homework before. In the military, we had a term for it that, you want to be left of bang. Mm-hmm. And before the bad thing happens, you want to make sure that you've done the prep work so that you know where to look and you know which organizations are communicating with others. And those type of investigations are pretty much all open source because you can't do anything nefarious to look into, protected items or where there might be a reasonable expectation of privacy prior to an investigation being initiated that would warrant that. So a lot of it is just maintaining situational awareness and intelligence on open source stuff in case something bad happens, and then we're ready to go. And to the extent that wasn't happening before, it is now.
Gotcha. So I think of something. Let's just pick an example. There was a pro-Israel event in downtown Seattle a few weeks ago. Antifa and crew all targeted this event. They were blocking people from entering a building. They were stopping people from going in. 3 people were arrested. None of them were charged. The city attorney's office won't get back to me about anything. The police department says talk to the city attorney. The King County prosecutor says talk to the city attorney. There's video of these people blocking people from entering because of their ethnicity, assaulting people, assaulting police officers. Is that the kind of thing where normally the feds go, okay, we're going to swoop in on something like that because the locals aren't doing their job? Or is that something you hope the locals do their job on?
Well, we hope the locals do their job. I mean, that's pretty easy. And that's one of the major frustrations that I have, in the chair that I'm in right now, is that there is either some a lack of action or in some cases, especially in the immigration context, active resistance. In terms of what happened that you're specifically referencing, now you're into a specific case that I'm not going to comment whether there's any investigations going on.
Now, that's not the end of the interview. I spoke to him for a lot longer. And when we come back, my friends, he's going to tell you about how he got ambushed at a meeting with Katie Wilson by Bob Ferguson, Nick Brown, and the rest of the crew over immigration because they want to stop him from enforcing it, and how he's still able to do his job even though he's got everybody in the Democrat Party who's a representative here in Washington trying to stop him. Up next, the second half of our interview with the new U.S. Attorney Neil Floyd. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. That may be what Turd Ferguson, Nick Brown, and crew want for the illegal aliens, but our new friend, U.S. District Attorney Neil Floyd, isn't going to let that happen. The second part of our interview with the new U.S. District Attorney, U.S. Attorney, not District Attorney. The new U.S. Attorney focuses on what happens when you're trying to enforce the law and you got every Democrat here in Washington trying to stop you. Give a listen.
Switching gears over to the immigration stuff, which is you're in a place which is a sanctuary city, a sanctuary state, and they're doing everything
That's
they possibly can.
That's the understatement of the day.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing everything they possibly can to subvert you. So what's it like trying to get that done here? Because ICE is still doing its thing. I've seen them do their thing a few times. I mean, how does that work with you? Are you even in contact with the governor's office or the mayor's office or anybody else?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because about 6 weeks, almost 2 months ago, I was, trying to go around to all the federal law enforcement first to talk about any potential surge in immigration operations. And then, the mayor sent out some tweets that got the attention of the administration about involving Seattle police, to potentially interfere with immigration enforcement. And that generated me to request a meeting with the mayor. I got called to a meeting, and when I arrived at the meeting, it was the mayor, the governor, the attorney general, deputy mayor, basically everybody with just me. I won't say ambush, but they were very curious if I had any specific information about timing of a potential immigration surge. And I said, no, I don't, and I still don't. But I do want to see where we can cooperate, where we can work together in order to keep things from devolving into what happened in Minneapolis. And they basically accused me of asking them to violate state law with respect to the Keep Washington Working Act. And I said, no, I'm not talking about violating any laws. There's just got to be some areas of cooperation. Surely we can, operating within state law, is there any way that we can put any restrictions you want on it? Because if we can find a way to cooperate, then it might avoid some, potential hazards and violence. And they basically said no. So I want to be clear, though, because I gave them a specific example, and this is the example that I've used before. You give me 100 ICE officers. They got a job to do, and my job is to help them do their job of enforcing federal law. In this case, it's immigration law. Title 8 of the U.S. Code, it's immigration law. Those people are federal law enforcement officers. There's two models. One is if you got those 100 officers, and the current model right now is that they don't get any cooperation from the state. If they had cooperation from the state, let me back up. Without cooperation of the state, they're left dividing up into 5 to 10-man teams, going into neighborhoods, trying to identify targets. And let me also be clear that the targets are prior orders of removal and people that have criminal records. We can debate whether a criminal record is a conviction or an arrest, but for immigration purposes, the standard is, that it's preponderance of the evidence. So you don't have to wait for a conviction. Once you've been arrested as a child molester, that may qualify for immigration purposes. So if you're out there trying to get those targets, you're looking around, running around the neighborhoods, trying to rely on wherever they reported their last address as, because we don't have access to the state systems for driver's license, for the criminal records for what they reported their last addresses. So they're running around looking for people, and when they can't find their target, they're going to encounter other people. They're going to encounter somebody at the house that's there illegally. So they end up arresting a lot more people that don't necessarily meet the target definition, and they encounter the community a whole lot more, and the resistance and the protesters. It's just a bad system. Mm-hmm. Alternative system is if you give me access to the jail, like they've done in Minneapolis now, like they've done in Minnesota, then I'm going to take those same 100 officers and I'm going to put 3 up in King County, a couple in Snohomish County, all up and down the I-5 corridor. And before you know it, I got 50 of those officers working in state jails, picking up people that have already been arrested. And then you got to do the transport, so that's going to take a bunch of guys off the street. The remaining officers are now going to go to the targeted that we mentioned before. And now if you give me access just to some basic, driver's license, license plates, some basic information about where those people live, then they go to the right location. And there's no time at the end of the day to get creative and go to Home Depot and do other stuff because they're doing the mission as designed. When you break down that system, you're forcing them into the community to do exactly what you don't want them to do. And it seems to be that that's what the state is trying to push. Because when I told the governor that example, he again accused me of asking him to violate state law. And I said, no, Governor, I'm just giving you an example and figure out if there's any way we can get close to that model. And they said, no, we are not going to help.
So even with murderers, even with child molesters, even with people with really bad felonies, they don't want to help in any way, shape, or form, help you get them out of the country,
I want to be fair, because there is one exception to the Keep Washington Working Act here in the state of Washington, and it's the Department of Corrections. So we still have access to someone that goes to state prison in most instances. So before someone is released from state prison after having gone through years of criminal prosecution, after having served some or all of their state sentence, we can still get them turned over to immigration custody. But that system allows so many people to go unattended. What about the guy that commits domestic violence or DUI that's never going to go to state prison? What about the guy that rapes a child and then the child doesn't want to testify and it's going to get pled down to something that's less than a year in state prison? Or more importantly, the guy that we just did a 1326 arrest warrant on that gets arrested for having raped a child in 2008, got removed, came back, and then is now here illegally. He gets picked up on the warrant for that arrest. And the state here says, well, we're going to plead it down because it happened so long ago. He gets a sentence of 3 months. And if it wasn't for my federal arrest warrant, because he had been previously removed, he would have been released on the street after having raped a child and still here illegally. And I'm not speculating about whether he'd have been released on the street. Their interpretation of state law requires them to release him and say, essentially, run, hide, because immigration's coming to look for you. That's essentially the system, the message they're putting out. We're going to release you. We're not going to call, not going to call ICE. We're not going to call federal law enforcement. We're essentially going to hide where you're going to go because we're not going to give them the address that you reported to us. Essentially, the message is run, hide. And it's a child molester, rapist. And if it wasn't for me issuing the 1326 arrest warrant so that we could get them brought into immigration processing, that guy would be out. But that's a tiny amount of people that I can affect. That only applies to the people that have been previously removed from the United States, because now there's a federal crime for coming back. But the guy that just entered here and has now gotten his third or fourth DUI, there's no federal crime. I can't put an arrest warrant on that guy. So he's going to go out and get released by the state and do another DUI until he gets someone killed. Then maybe he goes to Department of Corrections and maybe we get him. That's just a bad system.
And that's exactly what we've seen happening. I know you're short on time, so we'll wrap up with this. I think about the issue with the truck drivers. And we have all these illegal truck drivers driving without CDLs, with CDLs, whatever the case may be. Washington's issuing them. We had one guy who killed a Washington State trooper. We had another guy who killed a young father. This is happening with regularity. Literally last night, Como News had another report where Washington State Patrol found a guy, took him off the road. 3 months later, whatever it was, he collides with a school bus. So even in those cases, you're telling me the governor and everybody else doesn't even want you to address that. They don't even want to help you out with any of that, because some of these guys are now in the wind because they got arrested. Well, I mean, the one with the Washington State Patrol officer, he's in jail. But some of these other guys, the one who killed a young father, he was in jail for 5 minutes. They released him, gone. Nobody's heard from him since. And if there had been cooperation, that wouldn't have happened.
Your question was, they don't want anything done on those people? Apparently not, because I've offered to just give me the type of crime that you will give us some cooperation on. Let's just keep it at people that, commit vehicular homicide, that commit, are accused of committing, arrested for rape of a child, serious drug dealing, whatever the parameters you are on it. If you'll give me access to the jails on just those guys, then we could do it. But they're at this point unwilling to do so, and it seems that to them the word immigration is so evil in terms, or they're convinced it's going to generate so many votes, that they're willing to resist at all costs.
Unbelievable. So just last question when we wrap up here is that this seems a little disheartening. Being in this job, having the entire local government trying to work against you. So what message would you give to everybody else who sees you as this beacon of hope, of law and order, and putting a lot of faith in you that you're going to help them solve all this, and they think you can solve all these problems. What would you tell my listeners who say, well, it kind of seems like they're doing everything they can to stop him?
Without patting myself on the back, it is very helpful in this district to have someone that understands the connection between immigration law, having been an immigration judge, criminal law, having been a federal prosecutor, and also an ICE prosecutor, to be able to know which buttons to push and to be able to ultimately get to some resolution. There's a lot of things that are going on that frankly are just against the Constitution, and we're looking into that. I didn't want to be that blunt, but it's coming, is the short version, and hopefully we've got the right guy and the right people in the jobs to make it happen. So.
Well, I'll say this, is that a lot of people, and they may not be in government, but a lot of people are really here having your back and supporting you in what you're doing, and we thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. It's very nice for you to have me on. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
I got to tell you, I have a lot more confidence in just things around here getting fixed after meeting Neil Floyd, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. And so far, I subscribe to their press list. You should see the stuff we're doing that's not making the news, that they're doing that's making the news. I'm really very encouraged. So I keep asking all the time, when's the cavalry coming? It looks like it might actually be here. Got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, including Mark Hamill himself. Death threat against President Trump? Has Luke Skywalker gone to the dark side? You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, it seems like Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, may have gone over to the dark side. Look, normally I don't care about these things. Yes, are a lot of people in Hollywood on the left? Have we known that Mark Hamill is a far left Looney Tune for years? Yes, but I don't really care because I like that Star Wars. And so I don't care because Luke Skywalker was my hero growing up. But now he may have crossed the line. So there's this whole shtick with Barack Obama's new presidential library. And people keep calling it the Death Star because it's one of the ugliest buildings I've ever seen in my life. Now, it doesn't actually look like the Death Star. I think people are just trying to make some evil joke and saying it really looks like the place from Rogue One where they're trying to get the Death Star plans out of before they all get killed by the Death Star. Yeah, it looks more like that big tall building that Krennic is hanging out at with Darth Vader in there. It looks more like that building, but it is ugly. I mean, super ugly. It looks like TIE fighters are just going to start flying out of the sucker. Cool, but I don't think that's what's going to happen in Barack Obama's museum. Though I do wonder, he really liked celebrities. So do you think there's a lot of celebrity stuff in there, or do you think he keeps all that at Martha's Vineyard or his house in D.C.?
Obama!
Or his house in anywhere else because he's got a gajillion houses. What does he have, like 4 or 5 of them now? Okay. Anywho, Mark Hamill posted a picture of President Donald Trump in a grave and wrote, "If only." Now, not a good look on a regular day, but after assassination attempt, are you kidding me with this? I mean, we're days after, what, are we even a week after? A week and a half maybe since that? Yeah, I think I was joking with the synagogue security guards when I went to synagogue last weekend and I go, hey, anybody try to kill the president last night? Just because I'm catching up on the news because it's awful how often this happens. So, Hamill's post continued. He should live long enough to witness his inevitable, devastating loss in the midterms, be held accountable for his unprecedented corruption, impeached, convicted, and humiliated for his countless crimes, long enough to realize he'll be disgraced in the history books forevermore. You know, this makes me look at somebody who, I know actors are just saying lines and all that, but this makes me look at you and go, what's wrong with you that you put something like that out there? You spend your days considering these kind of things. I just go, Joe Biden, old. Joe Biden, pathetic. Joe Biden, whatever, okay? I don't spend my days thinking about politics.
You're not writing poetry.
Right, exactly. Like, this is something where, like, you took time. Is it that much on your mind? This is the worst case of Trump derangement syndrome I've seen since the last Democrat we discussed on the show. This is just something that really, really bothers me, where normally I can ignore this kind of stuff, but that's just poor taste. We never want anybody to die, except for maybe Jimmy Carter. No, we never really want anybody to die. Except for maybe, Al Sharpton. No, we don't want that to happen. We don't. We really, really don't. We don't even like joking about that kind of stuff. But wishing somebody to be dead? Is that technically a death threat on the president? Is that how you guys view this? And does it diminish Mark Hamill, in your opinion? Is that something that bothers you? Let me know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, speaking of the dark side, the latest insanity out of Seattle, how Seattle officials don't want to hold criminals accountable. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, could a mayoral debate in Los Angeles prove the way for a successful candidate to win back Seattle? But before we get to any of that, wow, you guys had a lot to say about Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, wishing death on President Trump. This one here from Robert. He says, Mark Hamill needs Hollywood relevance badly enough to become a character witness in the Comey trial. Wow.
I saw them hanging out together. So I got to interview. Not Comey. What am I thinking of? I was thinking of Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen and Mark Hamill were.
Wait, so Michael Cohen, the attorney.
Yeah.
And is Michael Cohen working for Mark Hamill? Or
I don't know.
This
was back in the DNC, but I had forgotten. I got to interview Mark Hamill, which, like we talked about in the break, I should tell everybody that should be tattooed on my body somewhere.
Well, I mean, you got to interview him, but hang on. We have that interview right here. I'm gonna push play on that interview.
You're gonna play it
right
okay.
here. Here we go.
Mr. Hamill, what did you think of Joe Biden's speech last night?
Fantastic. I'm speechless.
That's a hell of an interview there, Zach.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was longer than mine with Flava Flav.
Yeah, so
it's longer than your interview with Luke Skywalker.
That's a fair point. I have never spoken to Luke Skywalker.
But the guy was just a real dud.
I'm sorry. This is why they say never meet your heroes, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because then you end up with something like that. Didn't seem interested in talking to you kind of deal?
No, just didn't seem like he thought much.
Oh.
Yeah, he was eager to interact, just not much going on upstairs.
Well, hang on. Listen again, because I think I have a reason why. Give a quick listen. Hang on a second.
Mr. Hamill, what did you think of Joe Biden's speech last night?
Fantastic. I'm speechless.
Fantastic. Does he sound slower than usual? Do you think he was doped up on something?
I think he was really nervous that he was going to have to say something positive about a speech Joe Biden gave, because that's...
Because we all forget which speech it was.
Because keeping in mind when this is, it's like everyone's trying to call him a patriot. No, he's stepping down.
And he's already gone at this point.
Had I asked that same question a couple months later, he'd been like, yeah, that guy, I don't even know why they let him have a mic. Just like every other Democrat. Shuffle grandpa out the door.
Exactly. This one here from Dave. If Mark Hamill has gone to the dark side, here's the Star Wars main theme in a minor key. And he sent me a little video with that, which means the Imperial March, which we played on the way out of the last segment. John Arbin says, Mark Hamill.
I thought that was the theme song they play on the island. Sorry.
Mark Hamill has become a patient of the lefty loony bin. He is in FOMO mode with all the attention on people like Jimmy Kimmel and Rosie O'Donnell's not getting attention. Is Rosie O'Donnell getting attention and I missed it? Larry says, I say R.I.P. Mark Hamill, meaning Republicans in power. Needed now more than ever, right? This one here from Jeff and Kent. Jedi Master Hoffman, thank you for acknowledging my pronouns. Mark's comment is why I try to stay away from celebrity political comments. I wouldn't be able to watch some of my favorite movies or listen to some of my favorite songs. I just think they're all nuts, and I'm rarely disappointed. Good advice. Good advice, by the way. Eben and Bonnie Lake says, if someone made a post showing Joe Biden dead and said if only while Biden is in office, they'd probably be arrested, thrown in prison for life. Biden didn't even have any attempts or death threats that I know of. I don't remember hearing any death threats against Joe Biden. It doesn't mean there weren't any. It just means there's none that we know about. That's it. Because people are threatening to kill the president all the time, whether Democrats or Republicans or independents or just crazy people. Unfortunately, that's something that happens all the time. This one here from the 360. I don't understand why Mark Hamill thinks his words mean anything. He surely is not a good American. Yeah, because we never wish death on Joe Biden. We never wish death on Barack Obama. We don't wish death on people. Wishing death on the president, you don't want the country going through that. You do not. You don't want the national funeral. You don't want all that. That's national trauma. Whether you like the guy or not, that is bad, bad news. You do. Here, perfect example, okay? Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was trauma for a lot of us, very sad about it, really tore the right apart. I can only imagine what it would be like to have that happen with the President of the United States, given what we saw with what happened with Charlie Kirk and how much he meant to so many people. You do not want to see that. It's like the common question, where were you when you heard President Kennedy was assassinated? Where were you on not? You do not want to find out what that's like if you haven't experienced it yourself. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ben in SeaTac. Ben, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. I hope you can hear me better now.
Yeah. What's up?
This thing about with that CDL, the illegal immigrant with the CDL.
Yeah.
All that. Democrats do not care about loss of life. They don't care. The only thing that's going to stop them is that the Republicans got to grow up here, and it's got to start charging Democrats with harboring illegal aliens and encouraging illegal entry in the United States, which is a felony. They're both the same crime. It's Section U.S. Code 8, Law 1324. If you read that law, everything to do with a sanctuary city or state is in total violation of that law. And until the Republicans start prosecuting them for it, which they should, it's never, ever going to end. It doesn't matter if a CDL guy if illegal killed somebody, a family every day, they'd never change. They never change. It doesn't matter. You could tell till you're blue in the face. They're about power. They want power. The only thing that's going to stop this is start putting them in jail. Start charging them, bankrupt them, put them in jail. If I can read you the law if you want to.
No. I hear your frustration, Ben, and I don't think you're wrong. Here, you want to be really mad right now? During the break, I looked up the company. A friend of mine slipped me the info on the company that this guy worked for from the arrest record for the truck driving thing. Would you like to know that address? I pulled it up on Google Maps real fast just to see if it was a legit business or not. Would you like to know what's at this address? Allegedly at this address, because I just did this from Google Maps. Would you like a little guess? You got a guess, Ben?
DNC party.
Oh, no, okay, Ben. They're not that obvious, okay?
They don't have diesel.
Okay. No, they drive electric trucks. Okay, so here we go. Allegedly, what's at this address, and I'm going to send somebody down there to confirm it. Los Arcos Restaurant, authentic Mexican food, tortillas, and a mano. That's
good. Do the voice more.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's there. I think we might need to send somebody maybe named Nick down there to check out what it looks like at this restaurant. Be like, is there a trucking company here? Or aren't you supposed to have a trucking company here? We're going to have to send somebody down there to check it out. Good thing is actually, I think Jonathan Cho's in California right now. So I think I'm actually going to say, hey, how far are you from this address? I might do that. Ben, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing time and time again, expecting different results. I'm just going to read from King 5 here. And try not to throw anything at your radio or your computer or your phone or however you're listening. Ready from King 5. The future of a police program that has placed an officer at Bothell High School for more than 30 years is in doubt as the North Shore School Board prepares to vote on whether to eliminate the position. Over the past few years, board support for the School Resource Officer, or SRO, has waned. Parents who support the program worry there may not be enough votes to keep it, despite what they describe as widespread community backing. When the SRO arrives on campus each day, parents like Stephanie Corrigan say they feel a sense of security. Quote, if there is ever anything horrific like a shooting, he is specifically trained to work with the youth and to run into a situation like that. Corrigan said she is frustrated that some board members appear unmoved by community support for the program. She said they are just voting their own personal beliefs and agendas. They are not listening to the majority voice of the people they represent. A Bothell police officer has been part of campus life for more than 30 years before school shootings became a regular occurrence across the country. But those incidents are among the least likely events the SRO will be called upon to handle. Here's one, quote, we've learned of sexual assaults and dating relationships among young teens. Some students are involved in abusive relationships. There's abuse at home. Because of the relationship our SRO has with these students, a lot of these victims will get justice, said Captain Mike Johnson of the Bothell Police Department. By law, the North Shore School Board must annually review the SRO agreement. Last year, 2 members voted to eliminate the position for the first time. Supporters of the program fear losing the slim 3-2 majority that they have right now that keeps the SRO on campus. You know, if only there was a school district where we could try an experiment like this and say, does getting cops off campus make things better or does it make it worse? Oh, wait, we already did that with the Seattle Public School District and countless others across the country that said, let's get rid of the police officers in the wake of the death of George Floyd. Let's ban them from campus and let's see what happens. Do you remember the shootings in Seattle public schools? Do you remember the assaults? Do you remember the violence on campus? Do you remember people showing up on campus to the parking lots with guns and threatening students? How many shootings have there been at Garfield High School alone? Because they know there's no police officers there. This happens time and time again. We just had the shooting outside of Rainier Beach High School because they know the safest place to be from cops is at a Seattle public school because they banned cops from the area. When we interviewed the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools, Ben Schuldener, his top priority is safety back on the campuses. So he wants the cops outside the building patrolling the area to keep danger out. This is the kind of stuff that now people say, no, we want to get. And you saw the violence go through the roof. We had video after video after video of violence on campus, of shootings. And yet, you still had parents. Anytime they had one of those shootings at Garfield High School, how many were there? 3, 4, something like that in the past 4 or 5 years? That's far too many. There shouldn't be any, but that's far too many. What happened every time? The community comes out with signs, save our kids, keep our kids safe, safety for the kids. And then they go, all right, let's talk about bringing the cops back. No, don't bring back the evil police officers. This happens time and time again. So you guys are putting a giant bullseye on your schools by saying, we don't care about kids' safety. Not at all. We do not care. Criminals, this is a gun-free zone, which means nobody here has one, and there's not going to be a single police officer on campus. So come do your worst. You might as well just make that sign. Do they make those at the Puyallup Fair? I'm sorry, the Washington State Fair? Can you get that from the sign guy? Instead of gun-free zone, hey, criminals, open season right here. I don't get the stigma. I don't. I really just don't. We protect our sports stars with security. You ever been to a football game, baseball game, women's basketball game? They all have, well, they all have security at them. Been to the airport recently? Ever been to Washington, D.C.? Been to museums? They all have this stuff. But we don't protect our kids because why? Because we want to feel good about ourselves? We kick the police off campus. Yeah, we'll show them. Yeah, I'm sure that's a big comfort when, God forbid, something terrible happens. Speaking of insanity, doing the same thing time and time again, expecting different results, our new mayor, socialist Katie Wilson, has decided that the way to solve everything for the World Cup is to make sure that the homeless are out of sight, out of mind. And her whole plan hinges on this. We're going to open up little tiny home villages all over the place, as far as the eye can see. And that's how we're going to fix everything. So you shove them in the tiny homes where there's mold and there's drug use and there's criminals and you name it, it's all in there. No problem whatsoever. And then at least they're not downtown. It's not like they're cleaning up the rest of the city, but this is what they're doing. Spending more money on the tiny homes. Anybody here ever been to Chinatown recently? Have you been in the Chinatown International District? I actually used to love going down there. You know what? I don't know if it's still open. I think it closed a few years ago. Zach, you ever been to the Pinball Museum?
No.
The Pinball Museum was awesome. And here's what it was. Basically, some guy figured out, wait a minute, if I turn my private collection of video games into a museum, it's tax deductible. But it's fun. You go there, you pay $15. It's unlimited pinball.
No, that's a guy whose wife said, no more pinball machines. He goes, you watch.
That's how I got my pinball machine, by the way. Actually, from a guy like that. All right, I was looking for a pinball machine. I always wanted one. And I see one on eBay. Because, you go through eBay for the things you can never afford, but you always want. And I'm like, brand new Pirates of the Caribbean pinball machine for this? No way. Wait, it's within 50 miles of my house? Shut the front door. So I DM the guy and I go, what's the scam? And he goes, oh, no. It's for real. I collect pinball machines and I really got to get rid of this one. And he's like, if you come to my house, I can show it to you. I'm like, do I chance it? Do I not chance it? What do I do? I'm like, I got a gun. Let's go. We'll go check this out. So I pull up to this house. It's not a big house. It's an unassuming house. And the guy says, here, come to my basement. And I'm starting to get a little nervous here, right? But he goes, here, come check it out. And we go downstairs. It is a massive room filled with only pinball machines. It's like your dream from childhood, and the good ones too. Star Trek: The Next Generation, Addams Family, The Who's Tommy. I mean, you name it. All the good stuff is Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. It's all there. And he shows me the Pirates, and I go, what's the deal, dude? And he goes, my wife said if I brought one more home, like that was it. She was done. And I'm like, okay, well, she lets you have this whole room and everything. He goes, yeah, but she just said, like, no more. She wants me to get rid of this thing. I'm like, I'll take it. He goes, so you like this kind of stuff? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I got something else to show you. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Back to the gun again. What else is he going to show me? He takes me into another room, double the size, all vintage arcade games, everywhere. It was the coolest house I have ever been inside of. Really, really cool. And that's how I got my pinball machine.
Did he know a jukebox repair guy?
I know. I gave you the jukebox. You call my guy. I've got a guy for everything.
I do need to call your guy.
You call my guy. He will fix your jukebox. But anyway, getting back to this, I used to take my kids to the Chinatown International District to go to the Pinball Museum. They love to go to the Pinball Museum. You stop at Krispy Kreme on the way when that used to be kosher. Then you head on over to the Pinball Museum. I wouldn't go down there now if you paid me. The amount of drug use. And you know what? The Pinball Museum would be a great tourist attraction if it's still open. It'd be a great tourist attraction for people coming to the World Cup. But they're going to leave all the homeless in Chinatown because they say we can sacrifice this area so nobody will see what's going on in the other areas for the World Cup. We're just going to shove it all to the sides. And then to make matters worse, the Chamber of Commerce or whoever it is gives out these maps of downtown, which don't even label the areas they don't want you in. It just shows you the corridor of where you should go. And look at all the restaurants and look at all the attractions. But don't go over there. That's the dark place. That's what they do with these maps. So they're trying to hide everything for the World Cup. I think we should do tours. I think we should do poop loop tours, doom loop tours, whatever it is. I think we should do tours. We'll bring Andrea Suarez and Jonathan Cho. Maybe Brandy will come out, and we'll do tours for all the World Cup people. I think, wait, hang on. Partnership. I know what we could do. We'll talk to some of our sponsors. Maybe we'll get a big bus from Dodge, and we'll go down there all together. It'll be fun. We'll do a whole thing for everybody to show them what the real Seattle is. You know what? I actually think this could be a fun segment. I need to look up the schedule of all the World Cup games. We'll look up when they all are. And then that morning, I will go somewhere nearby that's not the stadium and be like, hey, while you're at the game, this is what's going on 2 blocks away. Like, Zach, how did you get back from the Super Bowl parade? Did you go down, what street was that on? Was that on 5th?
Well, the stations, we had our stuff set up, so we kind of had to wait for it to all close down.
And you drove back because you were driving the vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't walk it.
No, we waited for the roads to be back open.
Okay, so me and Matt Gilbert, we walked, right? We were walking it back, and the street over from us was filled with homeless people. Like 1 block over, they pushed all the homeless people off that block to the next block over, just what's behind
You know all those counterfeit shirts I bought?
Yeah.
Poor quality.
You think the counterfeit shirts you
Golly,
bought
man.
at the Seahawks parade were poor quality? Oh, gee,
It's a
didn't see
shame.
that one coming. Isn't it now? Isn't it? Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Could a mayoral debate in Los Angeles show a candidate how they could win back Seattle for common sense? I think it can. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, so you never miss a minute of the show, make sure you download the KVI app, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is, and also don't forget to check out KVI.com, because with the amount of articles we're pumping out now, you can see a lot of stories before we even do them on the show, and sometimes catch up on some stories and get more in depth into stories you may have missed before.
You're busy in the evenings.
I am busy in the evenings. Well, actually, what I do is I take the stories that I think would be interesting for our audience, and I just kind of flag them for later. And I go, these would make really good for the KVI audience, because, I do my writing for the Post-Millennial, too. So I've kind of got it down to a science.
And don't forget the New York Post.
Oh, and the New York Post. That's right. Oh, my God. So I tell my dad, hey, Dad, guess what? I got an article in the New York Post. Did you see it? And he goes, no, I didn't see it. Can you send it over? And what's funny is, between the time I got off the phone with him and went to the U.S. Attorney's Office and whatever, I'd have a chance to send it to him. I get a text back, read it yesterday, didn't realize you wrote it. So I'm like, thanks, Dad. Appreciate that one. Really do. John in Auburn says, Ari, not only tours, you should post maps online when the tours sell out. You know what? This might be less effort. We post the poop tour maps. That's what we'll do, the official poop tour.
Self-guided?
Self-guided. Yeah, just like they do in San Francisco. We'll do that. This one here, somebody wants to know how much for the Star Trek pinball machine. I didn't buy the Star Trek pinball machine. And by the way, the Next Generation one, that's a collector's item, that sucker. That thing, you remember that came out with Star Trek The Next Generation? That means it's close to 40 years old now, my friends, that pinball machine.
But I'll make him a deal on my broken jukebox. It's a 65 Wurlitzer.
We can get it fixed for you. I have a guy. We call the guy. We can get it fixed. It may cost a lot of money, and we make radio money, not TV money, but we can get that fixed for you, sir. We could take care of that.
But if someone just wants to take it off my hands.
Now you have an insurance. We are not defrauding Zach's insurance company on
No.
air.
I'd like take it off my hands, not take it from my house.
Oh, so somebody wants to make you an offer on your Wurlitzer. You're willing to entertain said offers.
Indeed.
Or have you thought about this? Perhaps ripping the guts out of it?
Hijacked your show and turned it into
No, it's fine.
Craigslist for broken jukeboxes.
Instead, what you do is, how about the thing where you rip the guts out of it, you keep the bubbler and all the stylistic stuff, and then you put like a glorified MP3 sucker
Because then it's hard to justify my thousands of 45s.
Fair point. I'm with you. Okay, now I totally understand. Switching gears for a minute here over to things that are going on in Los Angeles, and I don't understand how people can keep electing communists and socialists and people from the Democratic Socialists of America. I really don't. So Spencer Pratt is running for mayor of California. Spencer Pratt was a reality star from the show The Hills. His house got burned down in the fires last year because Karen Bass, who's the current mayor of Los Angeles, she said, hey, let's take all the water out of those reservoirs. She was warned about it. And then we don't have them for the fire hydrants. And hey, we don't need fire trucks, right? We could just leave them not working. And we could just not do anything about the fires. Oh, yeah. And then she went out of town to Ghana, even though fires were smoldering and they knew this could be an issue. So she was in Ghana when his house burned to the ground. By the way, not just his house, his parents' house who lived nearby, a bunch of other people. So Spencer Pratt is mad, and Spencer Pratt showed us what one just person can do, who says, I'm going to call out all of your BS. Moderator, this was the opening thing they asked Spencer Pratt when he was in the mayoral debate last night on NBC.
What would you do moving forward that would make this better 2 years from now if we face the same situation?
Well, first off, as mayor, I will never drain the reservoirs that we need for wildfire protection.
Bare minimum. Bare minimum, as they say. That's what we'll do there. Spencer Pratt was on fire, absolutely on fire. So he's running against Karen Bass, but there's also this DSA, Democratic Socialists of America person named Nithya Raman. Is that like the noodles? Nithya Raman. And he called her out for the fact that she doesn't really care about public safety.
Downtown is so unsafe now that they have to serve the food. All the employees have to eat inside. They can't risk going out. That's why all these beautiful restaurants are closing, because it's so unsafe. So before we require city workers to go back into any buildings, we need to enforce the laws on the street. Councilwoman Rahman is talking about safety, yet when animal rescue activist Rebecca Corey came in and said the dogs are being tortured and abused on the streets of downtown, she walked out of the hearing. She doesn't care about safety. She doesn't care about anything she's talking about. At least Mayor Bass pretends to care.
That's Mayor Bass giggling. That's the awkward, oh my God, he got me. Straight talk. Hit him right between the eyes with the issues. That's what he's doing, and it's absolutely, absolutely incredible. In fact, he doubled down on the public safety stuff a little bit later in the debate.
I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 70, 3,000 people for $400 million. This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
Yeah. They are, the two of them, because don't forget, Rahman is on the city council. Karen Bass is the mayor. They work together. They caused this mess. That's what they did. Oh, and then my favorite part is Nithya Rahman tries to accuse Spencer Pratt of working with Karen Bass. What? He's not an elected official. You literally work with her all the time. But Spencer Pratt just completely destroyed her. This was great.
Robin acts like she doesn't have any authority with this homelessness. She was the third most powerful person in city council. She runs the homeless housing thing. She acts like this is just Mayor Bass. First off, inside safe. I like to say inside safe makes all of us outside unsafe. The reality is no matter how many beds you give these people, they are on super meth. They are on fentanyl. The DEA statistic says 93% of this is a drug addiction problem. Nithya, Councilwoman Robbins' plan for treatment first. I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 70, 3,000 people for $400 million. This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
So, Councilmember Rahman, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I want to just say to everybody who's watching today, you're going to watch today as Mayor Bass and Spencer Pratt attack me because they want to run against each other in the general election. Each of them thinks that running against each other is what's going to help them win. And they don't want to run against me because my ideas, which are based on real results in my district, which are based on real data, a real analysis of the system, and a focus on accountability and using every dollar as effectively as possible, which we have done in my district. I want to take this citywide. This is why this is happening today.
Councilmember Rahman, we're out of time. I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds to respond to this. Mr. Pratt, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Mayor Bass.
First off, Mayor Bass and I are definitely not working together. I blame this person for burning my house and my parents' house and my town and all my neighbors down. I am not working with Mayor Bass. Second off, if I wanted to run against anybody, it would be the council member who is terrible. Mayor Bass has at least been a mayor for almost 4 years and has, as she talked about earlier, all the unions endorsed Mayor Bass. You think it's easier to run against the incumbent mayor with all the unions or a random city council member who's been a failure for 6 years? I would much rather run against Councilwoman Rahman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. So,
boom, roasted. You suck at your job and you're irrelevant. I want to run against you. I remember when I was running for office, there was a debate like this. They asked me some question like, which of your opponents would you like to run against? And I think I said something snarky like, none of them I want to challenge. Just something. I said, so I have to go look up the video. It was something like that. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, a local official decides that the pride flag might better represent all of us than the American flag. We'll have that insane audio for you when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Zach is doing a great job DJing today with that one, given the story we're about to do. So, a Linwood City Council member said that the U.S. flag, the American flag, is not relatable, but the pride flag is?
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
I forgot about that. Yes, well done, Zach. Zach for the win. Yes, exactly right. According to the Linwood Times, Councilwoman Isabel Mata made the remarks during the May 4th City Council meeting while discussing the city's flag display policies. Give a listen.
To me, a pride flag is way more relatable than an American flag. I would not raise an American flag at my house because I wouldn't. I wasn't even born here. But I would raise a pride flag. And as the most diverse city in all of Snohomish County, I don't think that I'm the only one who would maybe choose to have 27 other flags in Flag Park. Does this park represent the values that were here in the 1960s when they established this park? Do we hold those same values now, and are they representative of the Linwood as we see it today? Because if we're having this issue of we have so many things that we want to represent, this community is filled with so many beautiful cultures and diverse backgrounds and all of these things, yet we have 27 iterations of the same flag, some representing parts of American history that frankly are not great. Is there something different that we could do that fixes this issue altogether, where maybe these are flags that could be up year round that represent our community? The last thing I want to say is, yes, it's a political statement, but our city logo is literally all are welcome in rainbow colors. So we've already made a decision as a city where we stand politically. I think that's very, very clear. So to me, that is something I would feel so comfortable doing, is raising that flag in Wilcox Park and raising so many other flags that represent who we are. So wrap it all together. Maybe this is bigger than just seasonally raising these flags based on these proclamations. Maybe it's a time that we look at that park and those flags all together and find a long-term solution that is more representative of the people of Linwood.
Why do you think all those people from all those cultures are here in the U.S.? Why do you think the majority of those people from all those cultures are here in the U.S.? Why'd they come here if they came from other cultures and other countries? Why'd they come here? Because of that flag. It's one of the most recognizable symbols on God's green earth, because it means freedom. Why do all these illegal aliens want to come to the United States of America? They're not all criminals. Some of them just want a better life. Let's be real about this, right? Some of them just want to. Why do they want to come here? Why don't people want to go to Canada? Why don't people want to go to Mexico? Why don't people want to go to Europe? Why do they want to come here? Because they want a piece of the American dream. The American dream that lets you say stupid things in a city council. The American dream that lets you get elected to a city council when you say dumb things. I mean, look, I disagree 1,000% with everything she said. She has the right to say it. But they're going to do an American flag display. We have America's 250th anniversary coming up. What would you like to celebrate instead? What would you like to see there? A bunch of Palestinian flags? A bunch of terrorists that kill Americans? Kill Jews? How about Ukrainian flags? How about that? Oh, here, we can make their heads explode. Okay, so you're going to want to put up the flags of all people who live in Linwood. There's Jews who live in Linwood. Good, let's put up the Israeli flag and see what happens. What do you think would happen? Oh, right. You're going to have the Palestinian wackadoodles, the Hamasniks, say we want to put up that flag. And then you're going to have somebody else say, I want to put up the Hezbollah flag. I want to put up the Hamas flag. Let's do it. Let's do it. Then how about Slava Ukraine? Put up some Ukrainian flags. What other things can we think about around there? Notice that whenever you have these anti-ICE protests, they're waving the Mexican flags. Why are they doing that? If you like Mexico so much, go back to Mexico. Oh, I know. Let's get some IRGC flags. Let's get some Iran flags. Not the good Iran, the bad Iran, the Ayatollah's regime. Let's put those up instead. Let's see how that goes. Now, there's another city here in Washington that doesn't have these issues. So this one, just the other day, the Puyallup City Council, according to King 5, voted Tuesday night to approve a nearly $150,000 flagpole installation honoring America's 250th anniversary, even as the majority of public commenters urged the council to reject it, pushing back on the use of taxpayer funds for the project. I bet you that all these anti-American wackadoodles, If you said to them, let's waste money on this or that, the other thing, they'd want to waste money on everything. Let's waste money on fraudulent daycares. Let's do it. They'd probably say yes to all of those, every single one of those things. They would say yes to that. They would say yes to that, but not the American flag. Now they're concerned about taxpayer money. I don't believe you. I think that's just your excuse so you don't look anti-American. I bet you they all walked up there and said, well, I like America and all, but this is a big waste of money. And, with the economy being the way it is, we can't waste money. The proposal calls for a 100-foot flagpole in the median along North Meridian Avenue, just south of North Meridian Bridge. The flag itself would measure 20 by 30 feet with a commemorative plaque at the base marking the nation's milestone birthday. City leaders have described the installation as a civic gateway along the Highway 167 extension project. Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. I don't like going to Tacoma, but I like when I drive through Tacoma and I see the giant American flags. I'm like, there's the Tacoma Dome flag.
Down in the Nally Valley.
Yeah. I love that. I love all that. I got to say, I actually do like the Tacoma waterfront. I actually do like some things about Tacoma. I know we're supposed to make fun of Tacoma because we're from Seattle.
It's hurtful. We don't like it.
Well, I know. That's why I'm just kind of saying it in jest. I don't actually mean it. I know I'm supposed to, but I wasn't born here, so I don't really have the same hatred that has been imbued in people over the generations towards. I like Tacoma just fine. I don't really have a problem. You got the Tacoma Dome. I've been there for more shows than I think I've been to Climate Pledge for. Saw Aerosmith there, been to the Monster Jam twice. I love the Tacoma Dome. Anyway, their concerns not only of the flag itself, but of the price tag. Yeah, right. One resident questioned who would cover the ongoing cost of lighting, maintenance, and the flag. I bet you this person doesn't care about homeless ink down there. A woman in the crowd argued the expenditure reflected misplaced priorities at a time when residents are struggling to afford gas and groceries. Does the government pay for our gas and groceries now? Can I get a government check to pay for my gas? Woohoo! Let's do that. Even some people were making the arguments they were making. Oh, and then they bring out the veterans against this. Yeah, I don't know any veteran who's against this kind of stuff.
Gosh darn flags everywhere. Take them down.
Yeah, take them all down. Yeah, that's why so many veterans show up at the cemeteries for Memorial Day, right? Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile in your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And good to have Zach back in the booth. Mr. KVI himself is out today. He'll be back tomorrow, but good to have young Zach around. Thank you for all the humor and fun today.
It's been fun being here.
It's always fun having you here. So there was this moment during the debate that I was saving for the good news because Karen Bass got so rattled by Spencer Pratt that she started tripping over her own words yesterday. And NBC didn't censor it, but we had to do that today.
So yes, there were fire trucks that were broken, but there were also fire trucks that were out of use because she had sent the firefighters home.
What? I'm sorry. What was out of use? Oh, sorry. Can we do that one more time there?
So yes, there were fire trucks that were broken, but there were also fire trucks that were out of use because she had sent the firefighters home. Fire.
All right, stop that, you. Stop that.
She didn't say fire trucks.
I'm hearing Firefox, that old video game they used to have on the, what it wasn't.
That's a browser, internet browser.
Well, now it's an internet browser.
It was a game too?
It was awesome for its time. It had the best graphics. It was on Jaguar, which you probably never even heard of.
What is a Jaguar?
Well, exactly. This was like the only game it had. And everybody's like, that game's amazing. You have a Jaguar? You must have rich parents. Because that's how expensive it was.
My dad had an Odyssey. I know some of the fringe consoles.
We had an Odyssey. We had a ColecoVision. We had an Atari. We had the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And then that was the end of that. No more fun in the Hoffman house after that. That was the end of that. But yeah, that's how rattled she got. Meanwhile, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, gave birth to a baby girl earlier this month. That's right. She posted the picture online yesterday. She said, on May 1st, Viviana, a.k.a. Vivi, joined our family, and our hearts instantly exploded with love. She is perfect and healthy, and her big brother is joyfully adjusting to life with his new baby sister. We are enjoying every moment in our blissful newborn bubble. Thank you to everyone who reached out with prayers during my pregnancy. I truly felt them throughout the entire experience. God is good. Some wholesome content. Wholesome content is wholesome, as they always used to say. And since we have our sports guy here with us today, we don't normally do sports, but this one gave me some reminiscences of World War II competing against Nazis. So,
I'm sorry, where are we going?
You're going to hear this and you're going to be like, oh, I know what he's talking about. Como News has a report about the UW men's rowing team. Under the sunny skies and in front of a crowd that packed much of Montlake Cut, University of Washington men's rowing team edged Great Britain at a photo finish Saturday to win the 40th Windermere Cup. The Windermere Cup is a prestigious annual rowing regatta held on Seattle's Montlake Cut, acting as the official kickoff to boating season on the first Saturday of May. Created in 1987, it features elite international and national crews racing against the UW Huskies. I love taking my boat through the Cut. I mean, aside from all the graffiti on the walls that's about UW and stuff and college kids are college kids. I don't know, that's the Seattle I love. Going through
just the college girls on either side.
There's usually when I'm going through the Cut, it is winter because that's when I have the boat fixed. So I have it for the summer. There's nobody out there on either side. Thank you, sir. Washington won the men's Windermere Cup in 5:29.082, just 0.165 seconds ahead of Great Britain. Northeastern University finished third at 5:35.914. According to UW, the British national team entered the race with major international credentials, describing the notes as gold medalists at the 2024 Olympics and silver medalists at last year's World Rowing Championship. The British boat also includes 7 athletes who earned medals in the 2025 World Championship, so you're beating some of the best in the world. Washington was listed as the number 1 ranked men's crew. By the way, I hear it's cool to go check out the boathouse. Didn't they just redo it? Have you been out there before, Zach?
I haven't been out there. I think they might have redone it part of the movie, The Boys in the Boat. Was it all kind of tied into that, or was it separate?
It was separate because, none of the movie was filmed here. None of that.
Well, yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know if it was attracting tourists.
I think it was done before all that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I hear it's a really cool place to see events and stuff. So actually,
it's too close to people exercising. I never went down there. I went to the gym twice. Once to try rock climbing, and they told me I was unsafe at tying knots. And the second time was to get a smoothie.
Okay, so these are experiences I didn't have because your college had way better facilities than my college did. That is for sure. Northeastern led early, holding nearly a 1 second advantage over Washington at the 500-meter mark and about 2.5 seconds over Great Britain. Washington moved into the lead in the second quarter, 500 meters, with Northeastern around 1,000 meters. Great Britain surged in the third quarter, passing Northeastern and closing on Washington heading into the sprint. At the finish, it was not immediately clear which shell had won, but Washington's final strokes held off the British charge. Really very, very cool with that kind of stuff. I wish I could go out and check out that kind of stuff. I didn't even know this was happening. So I think the rowing guys need to do better marketing of their rowing squad. I'm sure everybody else knew about this except for me. Washington also posted multiple wins earlier in the regatta. They won the Ericsson Cascade Cup and several other awards as well. So good job to UW. We may have some issues with some other things at UW, but we like when the home team wins. That's going to about wrap it up for us today, my friends, but fear not. We will be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. Plus, we will also have this crazy story for you about a guy who's suing a bunch of bowling alleys. Can't make that stuff up, my friends. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.